Hey, what is going on? What is going on? This is Mike Clark, the Keys and Knowledge team, powered by the Williams Advanced Realty team. Back at it again with another overdue episode. You guys know me, man. I get busy and I get behind, and I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be consistent because I've been doing a horrible job staying consistent. But here we are back at it again. I got a lot of good news, got a lot of information to give out. So, however, I want to see the stream quality of this platform, man, because I don't know what's going on, why it looks so blurry. I'm gonna have to, I might have to get a new, router, something to be honest. Give me 1 second, y'all. I just want to see what this looks like. Good news, got a lot of information. Okay, it doesn't look too bad. 1 second, y'all. I just want to see what this looks like. Okay, doesn't look too bad. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how we can cut it. But you guys see it, man. We're going to talk about protesting property taxes. Listen, I'm not a professional, so I'm going to give you my disclaimer up front. I don't know everything about protesting property taxes. However, I have acquired some knowledge that I've been using prior to being a realtor. You know, I've protested my taxes year over year. Some successful, some not. My first time doing it, I did a horrible job protesting property taxes. Horrible job. I basically, essentially, and I thought just being a typical homeowner that protesting your property taxes and talking about some of the pain points of the neighborhood or the demographic of the neighborhood and the schools in the area played a factor. Does not play a factor in this scenario when you're trying to protest your property taxes. So the first year was horrible because I didn't have any comps. I didn't have any information on repairs that were needed or anything of that sort or that nature, right? Now, that was the first year. The second year, I learned a little bit more. I brought some more information as well as I learned about the open records request and finding out that you could pull your neighbor's information and what they've used to protest their property taxes successfully. And so that's when I start understanding about comps. And then fast forward to me being a real estate agent, I definitely understand about comps now. So that helps a ton. Now, we're going to get into it, but I want to go into more details about comps because it's not necessarily the comps overall, but the quality of these comps. I got more information on that to add with this, so please stay tuned. You'll get that nugget at the very, very end or somewhere within this stream. But yesterday, well, yeah, I did the introduction, right? I told you guys a little bit about my first time doing this, some more information, but additional, like I said, what I want you guys to understand is, let's start here. What is the purpose of you protesting your property taxes? Understand the assessments that you're getting, depending on who you talk to. Is it fair? Is it not fair? Understand this. At the end of the day, your assessment is done in what's called a mass appraisal. It's a mass appraisal assigning assessments and what they believe equity is additionally. So when it comes to that, understand that a computer system basically is what's generating this. Now, how are they pulling the data to compare your home with another home? Well, they're going off of comps. They're going off of sales that are happening in your area. Now, there's an argument on that where, as realtors, we have access to what's called the MLS, the multiple listing service platform. And that's essentially real data of homes being sold, where they're showing list price, sold price, concessions, all the data that's necessary to understand what your market is doing. And that's what everything's running on. If you're not understanding data and understanding how to manipulate it and how to use it to your advantage or how to see how data can be played and used, like you have to start learning that piece. You know, so for example, you want to find a particular subdivision, you want to see what the overall price point in that subdivision is, how many days on market a home will be in that particular subdivision, absorption dates, all these different things, right, can be done with the correct data and data sets and all this stuff, right? But regardless, as a realtor, we have this data, which is nice, right? But then if you're not a realtor, what data do you have to use? Or if you're the central appraisal district, what information are you using? Well, you're using public data, public information that you're getting from the website. So you're talking about Zillow.com, Realtor.com, all these other platforms that doesn't necessarily have, in my eyes, accurate information. Could it be accurate? Yes, but is it consistently accurate? No, because remember that the MLS is being updated by the people that are representing sellers and buyers on a daily. So it's going to be more accurate over there versus something that's put in and could be all over the place. So you want consistent data. At the end of the day, when you get these notices, understand that you can sit there and ignore it and throw it away. And I've done that for a couple of years. I've done that myself. I've thrown them away. I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's too much. But it's not as difficult as you may think it is. It's very easy. Not only that, you do have companies out here that's charging an exorbitant amount of money, and they're doing what you could do for free, And again, it's not as difficult as you may think. And I guess, like I said, stay tuned, and I'm going to definitely walk you through at least what I've done. Again, I'm not a professional at this, but I'm definitely understanding the concept, definitely understanding what's needed, and compared to my peers or compared to others that are realtors, I definitely am starting to understand it more, understanding the way the Central Appraisal District wants the comparable. So, for instance, if you came to me as a seller, of course, you want me to go ahead and find, the comps that are comparable to yours. So it's basically apples to apples. You got a 2-story, I'm finding a 2-story. You got a 2,700 square foot home, I'm trying to find a 2,700 square foot home. You find that you have a pool, I'm trying to find a pool. I'm trying to compare those, right? Now, when it comes to the Central Appraisal District, it's not as easy as it sounds, because the way they look at comparables is a little different. They're actually categorizing homes. So regardless if I have the same everything, what they're telling me and what they're telling, overall everyone else that's coming in, is that you have to understand the build quality and what it looks like overall. And now it's getting rated basically. It is what it is. I'm not even going to say confused. It is what it is. So if you have one home and 2 homes that look the same, but this one has a little bit better build quality, this one may not be rated the same as this one, which then this one may not be a comparable you want to use. So again, why I think it's important that you have to utilize a realtor at this point, because the realtor is going to be able to find those true comps. Additionally, the other thing that I ran into as well when it comes to comps is, and I got to dig deeper into how this part is done. But essentially, if I'm using a comparable and say this particular home has never protested the property taxes, yeah, it's sold for $350, but it's sold for $350. But the way the Central Appraisal District sees it is that it's being assessed at $400,000, and if they haven't protested the property taxes, then you technically can't use it. That's another thing that I'm trying to understand, because I don't get that part. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So yeah, that was difficult. I'm not gonna lie. Let me see. So anyway, let's go. Let's just jump right into it. I'm sorry I'm all over the place. I'm rambling, trying to get my thoughts together, because I want to be able to say this in a way that's understandable, and a way that I can just kind of push this out. So I'm going to continue to do this stream, hopefully 2 or 3 times this month, just so I can get better and better and better at this and explaining this, and bring you guys better content, especially over things that from a high level need to be broken down into just a way that everyone can understand, including myself. Like I said, including myself, just being honest. So as you guys can see, I am streaming the Central Appraisal District. This is their website. Let me go ahead and try to make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. Move this over here. And then I'm going to put myself back over here if I can. So this is the Central Appraisal District website. As you guys can see, it does have important information at the very top. You could protest deadline is May 15th, which is Friday, or 30 days from the date on your notice. I'm going to be able to verify that with the stamp. I think there should be a postmark on that particular envelope. And then so you have 30 days from that time. If, it's past the 15th or getting close to the 15th, you still haven't received it, just don't get nervous or don't get scared. But what I would do, even if you haven't received it, don't rely on that. Give them a call, verify if yours has been sent out. They do send them out in rounds. So in waves, so waves. So they may send the first 1,000 or 10,000 at one time, then the next 10,000. So your round may not have came up if you haven't received it, or you may have got it and you just overlooked it. But regardless, you want to give them a call, figure it out, see where you're at, right? That's the first step. Understand that. You got to understand these deadlines. Understand that your assessment is done on January 1st. Now, I got two things for this. Whether you have a new build or a resale. If you have a new build, it's very, very important if you're going through the process of getting your home built and it's not fully built by January 1st, understand that you need to record the build progress. Where are you in the build process? So say, for example, you're going through a build process and it gets to January 1st. You started somewhere in like August, October, somewhere in there, right? But the build is taking, it won't be done to the following year. But by January 1st, you may be assessed 100% on that home, even though it's not built 100%. The only way to change this is to, basically let the Central Appraisal District know the status of that build. They're not going to know. They're just going to assume it's being fully built, or they may. There's a lot of variables with it, but essentially, you have an option to make sure at January 1st, you take photos, say only the foundation was poured, only the structure was put up, and of course the wall, the electric, and all that stuff's not done. It may be 50% complete. Okay, that's what you need to be paying property taxes on. It's 50% of that bill, not 100%, because the home is not 100%. It's not fully built yet, right? So make sure you're taking photos on January 1st. Make sure you take that into the Central Appraisal District so they can see it. They're going to be the ones to dictate on what the percentage is on that build, and then boom, you're good to go, right? And that'll help. Instead of you paying full, so say for example that home is going to be 300,000. Instead of you getting assessed for 300,000, you may get assessed for 150,000 if it's 50% complete. All right. Additionally, for the resales, understand that again, when you get your assessment, you need to make sure you're staying on top of it and understanding what that market is in your particular area. As you're going through the year, you're seeing more and more homes as it gets closer. So January 1st is still kind of cold. Not a lot of things moving, but as things start to warm up, and you can see that, I guess, from the summer. So as the summer's happening and then it starts winding down towards the end of the year, you can start seeing how things are moving, how long you've seen the same signs in front of people's houses. So you can kind of more or less figure out, okay, even if you weren't even paying attention, you could definitely tell, right? I know I could tell more than I'm a realtor. So, but just pay attention to the signs that are going on in your neighborhood, the signs that are coming down, what's being sold and what's being moved, etc. But anyway, so this is it. So click the link. This is your options, right? You can protest. You need to do your protest, request your protest, right? Then you have your evidence. Then it's going to show your appeals process, and then appraisal review board. Now, you can do it 4 different ways. You can request your protest 4 different ways. You can do it through the portal. You can do it through a form that you can fill in. You can fill in person kiosk. Those are there, they're in person, right? Or U.S. mail. And they're rating these, right? It's like a, like a Google review. It tells you right here. Can y'all see am I sharing this? Okay. I'm sorry about that. So from here, like I said, I was showing you guys protest. This is the first step. You need to collect your evidence next. You need to do the appeals process. And then this is appraisal review board. I think this is what they're trying to complete with this, like trying to show you the steps. But anyway, these are your options to file your protest, and they kind of rank it by speed and convenience. And I'm going to break this down to you really quick. So the preferred option is a portal, file now. Let's click on that. From here, all right, before you begin your protest, there is no charge for this service. All communication will be email only. Please check your spam, blah, blah, blah. This is considered your informal hearing. You cannot meet with the appraiser in person. So you can do it online. However, again, if you do it online, it's very hard to go back and forth like how me and you are going back and forth right now. You're able to state your position. The appraisers are able to state their position, and then you can give evidence in the moment and you can explain that evidence. It's kind of hard to do it online because now you're just letting the appraiser kind of view everything and kind of dictate what makes sense and what's not. You can't really tell your story about it, right? Now you do have a form. You can do this in person. When I went in person, it was very easy. I actually went up. I said I wanted to protest my property taxes. I didn't have the form there with me that I got mailed to me. Literally told my property address. They found my property ID, pulled everything up, helped me fill everything out right then and there. I will tell you that part is very much smooth. The ladies, the gentlemen that are there, very nice, very knowledgeable. They tell you and show you what to fill out. And they ask you, what are you really protesting? Because you have a couple options. You can protest the assessment value of your property or the market value of the property. If you put on the right exemptions, that's another thing you can protest. So there's a couple different options. The personal information, like there's a couple things you can. So that's when you have a time to talk to those individuals, and they'll let you know, hey, this is more or less what you need to look at. They still want you to fill out the document, but they're going to explain it. So if you don't have a understanding of it, they'll help you. That's what I want to say. In-person kiosks, that was there as well. I seen the kiosks. They're available on the 3rd floor. No one used them. They just go up to the actual person. So, and then of course you have your U.S. mail option. You can fill this stuff out. You can mail it in. Again, as long as you get it in before the 15th and it's postmarked, stamped, that's all that matters. So it doesn't have to necessarily get to them by the 15th, but it needs to be in the mail by the 15th. Now, protest. If you wish to appeal the appraised value of your property, you must file a notice of protest within the time allotted. The deadline to file this is May 15th or 30 days from the date of notice. What I did over here, because man, I be ear hustling. I ain't gonna lie, I be ear hustling. But I did over here. One of the receptionists said that, hey, if you protest your taxes this week, which you have to the end of the week, most likely your hearing is going to be the first week of June or somewhere in that first 2 weeks of June, right? It'll be somewhere in there, but early June. So that's good to know. Remember, you have time. So they want to give you some time to prepare your argument, prepare all of your documents, and you need that time. I promise you're going to need that time. Now, it says it right here, current hearing schedule. The hearing schedule document will be updated daily at 6 a.m. While hearings are actively being held, please check back after this time to update version of the document. Okay. Download hearing schedule. We're not going to do that. Okay, so that's that part. Evidence. Now, this part's important. The district does not accept evidence in the following forms. Okay. All evidence presented to El Paso Central Appraisal District or Appraisal Review Board must be retained by the district ARB. They're going to record this information and it's going to become public record. So whatever you use, it's going to go into the file. It'll stay there. It'll show why they changed your assessment, whether it moved or not. They're going to go ahead and say whatever evidence you did present. So again, remember, if you're claiming that you had to do so much work to the property and you use that to justify bringing your assessment down, remember, you're going to use it one time. I would say not even one time, because say you used it once now and then 10 years later you decide to use it again because something's going on with the foundation, something's going on with painting, but you have done it multiple times. You need to make sure you can justify it, right? I guess I would say it that way. But essentially, you just want to make sure. So for me personally, what I did was, and I wasted a lot of paper, to be honest, but I knew I was going to make it to the ARB board, the appraisal review board. And there's 3 people on that panel, plus the appraiser. So I printed out 4 packets of my CMAs, my photos of my property, and there was a couple other documents I had printed out, but I made sure I had 4 packets to hand out. Now, when you do the informal piece, when you're just talking to the appraiser, I didn't even think about it, but once you're done talking to that individual, they will scan in those papers and then they'll go ahead and they can upload it. Now, I will tell you the quality of that scan is horrible. So if you are wanting to present your argument in front of the board and hopefully it's going to be on a big screen and you can present it, it's difficult because the quality is horrible. It's in black and white. Some of the imaging was garbage, man, garbage. So if you can scan it in, scan it in. If you can email it directly so they can upload those documents the right way, I would say do that, because I was unprepared of how that was going to look. Because last year I did it, I uploaded everything and I forgot how I did it, but I should have did it that way. I really should have, man. It was just horrible. But nonetheless, I had the package ready. Still, I thought I was organized, but I just not as much as I wanted to be. Now, the appeal process. Okay, this is the other one before we get there. Okay, so this is essentially, I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. So again, let's just start over from the very, very beginning. You get your property tax notice. It comes into you, right? You see it, you open it up, you look at it, you say, oh my God, this is ridiculous. This makes no sense. And whether you agree with it or not, I still would protest it just for GP, just because you are verifying everything. So you open it up, you look at it, okay, well, I made it in my mind that I'm going to protest my property taxes. Perfect. Now I'm going to the Central Appraisal District. By what date? May 15th. I'm going to go. From there, I'm going to request my hearing. If I don't understand that process or how to do it, or I don't have the paperwork, it doesn't matter. Just go in regardless. The receptionists are very, very nice. They will help you, and they will go ahead and help print that out and explain whatever needs to be explained to you. And then you just fill it out properly and it gets stamped, submitted, and you are ready to go, right? Nice. So now you're leaving. Next thing you're doing is just waiting on your hearing. Now, you can get notified a couple different ways, whether it's through mail, whether it's through your phone, text message, email. I opted to have in both text and email. So I was able to get notification on both ways, on my phone, everything, man. It was nice. It was super convenient. That way I was on top of it. I even had to reschedule because I had a lot going on. I rescheduled, thought it was going to be difficult, thought I was going to have issues rescheduling it. The only thing I didn't like about the rescheduling part is I didn't have anything to kind of verify that it was put in place. So I did get the receptionist's name just to verify, just in case I showed up and for some reason my hearing never did get scheduled. But it did nonetheless, so that was cool. No issues. But I would say if they could fix that part, that would be nice. Now, Once you get the hearing, well, once you put in the protest, you have to wait. I don't know if this is mandatory, but what I was told is you have to wait 24 to 48 hours till it hits the system. You go back down to the first floor, you speak to the open records department, and now you're going to request the evidence being used against you or just supporting. I don't want to make it sound like court for real, but it's just basically you're requesting the evidence that's being used to justify your assessment. They're going to show you the comps that the Central Appraisal District is using, right? And that's great. Now, once you get that, you can view it. I'll tell you what, though, it was a clean format this year. This was the first time I've seen it like this, but it was nice. It had a cover sheet. It had the comps. It mapped out where each home was located compared to your home, the subject property. I mean, it was clean. Let me see if I can show you guys without showing you guys too much. I don't want to show you my stuff. Let me see. I don't want to show you in case one of y'all out to get me. I don't know. Hopefully not. All right. You may still see it, but we'll do our best. We'll do our best. You know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. We'll do this. We'll do this. We'll do this so you guys can see. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but this right here, let me see. I wish I could scan it. Oh, I'm gonna have to do another one where I can show you guys specifically what it looks like. But essentially, you're gonna see the comps where it's gonna show subject property, comp 1, comp 2, comp 3, comp 4, comp 5, and 6. They actually have 6 comps, 6 supporting pieces, man. 6%. Now, when it came to mind, one of the things that popped out to me immediately, right, was that comp 1 to comp 3 were all 2-story homes. Comp 4 to comp 6 were all 1-story homes. And when I brought this up to the first appraiser, he was like, well, that doesn't really matter. I'm like, well, I mean, if we're going off of sales comps, that has to matter, because if you have a single family home and I have a 2-story family home, and I'm noticing on the market, which I can see the trends and I can see the data, you can see that 1-story homes are more of a demand than a 2-story home. And how you gonna know that? One, you got to see the price difference. The 1-story homes in my neighborhood, in my subdivision, are selling for extremely more money than a 2-story. As well as you can see how quickly days on markets are for single family homes compared to 2-story family homes. So it really tells a story. Now, that's one thing. The other thing that I have access to that the Central Appraisal District doesn't have, and again, I was running into this issue as well, is that we need to understand what concessions are, right? That tells a story as well, because understand that these homes, you can tax me for something, but if I have to incentivize you to purchase my house, then I really lose that money overall. So let me give you an example. If my home's $100,000 and no one wants to buy my home, because understand that you may need to incentivize buyers to come look at your home. Why do they want to look at your home? Not only because it's in a great location, whatever, you can still fit all those buckets, but people still don't want to buy it for whatever reason. Well, one of the things you can do to incentivize them is saying, hey, I'll give you 10 grand towards whatever you want. I'll give you seller's concessions. You could pay your realtor fee. You can pay your closing costs, whatever, right? Well, that you technically got to take that off the sales price, because I don't get to keep that money. It's going to you, going to the buyer. So that's recorded in the MLS. If there's any sort of seller's concessions, that's recorded. So, I brought that up as well. Like, some of these properties, at least in this subdivision, because you got to understand, if you're living by new builds in a new area, that's what these builders are doing. Builders are giving incentives to new buyers to drive them over into that particular subdivision or drive them to those particular properties. Same thing that the resellers have to do. The same thing that if you have a home that's already on the market, a resale property, you gotta do the exact same thing, man. So that's another problem I'm having with this. I'm still trying to understand that and wrap my mind of why that doesn't hold any weight. Now, I was telling you guys at the very beginning of this, there was a nugget that I ended up finding out about, and this is because I got into it with the first appraiser, not because I was trying to be a smart ass or anything like that. No, I was legitly trying to get information and understand how this process was working. You have an idea, you can read everything, but when you're presenting your argument, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a great debater, but I'm trying to communicate my position as best I can. And through that, me asking questions or challenging him on certain things, he's getting upset. And I can see it, but that wasn't my plan. But the way he was coming as if he's doing me a favor from the moment I met him, like I get it. You want to build a rapport in that short amount of time, but I'm not here for that. You have a job, I have a job. I want to make sure you're treating me fairly. I'm treating you fairly. So I say that to say this is, at the end of the day, you're not doing me a favor. You're not saying, well, I'm just not going to honor certain things, or I'm looking at things a different way. No. I want you to follow the protocol that I've seen and known to have happened in the past, and what I know that I've read from the Central Appraisal District website, and go through the formalities with me, man. Like, just go through it, whether you can do something or not. I don't know what you can and can't do, to be honest. All I know is I want to present what I got to present to you. But the way he was coming off was like a buddy, like a friend. I don't know. Sometimes people see me, man, they just see how they think I look young. Man, I'm gonna be 37 this year, bro. Like I'm up there. So, I'm all that bro stuff, all that other stuff, like, in a relaxed setting, I'm cool with it. But in a formal setting, it needs to be a little different. Let's respect each other. But like I said, in this instance, man, you got to go in there, not guarded, or don't not try to build a rapport, but understand they're still going to do their job at the end of the day as well. So anyway, we ran into an issue with that, but let's move forward, and I'll come back to the point I want to make. So from there, me and him couldn't agree on neither one of my properties. I had a single family home and I had a multi-family home. Couldn't come to terms on either one. And one of the reasons why we couldn't come on my primary was because what he tried to tell me was because there was a year that I skipped and I didn't challenge my property taxes at one point. And that was a question I had to ask. I said, well, I mean, regardless of when I done it, it shouldn't even matter, because comps are going to be the comps, whether it's 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. If I do miss it, that's me getting overtaxed, whatever. I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't do my job as a homeowner, but now I'm here. You can't fault me for not coming in every year. Like, it's not mandatory that I have to do that. But if I could show you comps that support my property value, or my, against what you guys have, it shouldn't matter. So, for example, they're telling me my home is worth $437,546. Well, I'm like, that's not the case. Even from the comps that you sent me, the 2-story homes that you sent me, one was $329,900, one was $320,000, one was $325,000. Okay, that sounds about right. Now the single story, they had one at $345,000, but this wasn't as new. It was a year younger, but you could tell it just look, it doesn't look the same. But these other two comps, one was at $459,000 and one was at $570,000. Yeah, so one was at $570,000, man, it was ridiculous. And now this $571, my comp 6 that they used, Now, shout out to my broker, man. Look, when I learn something, I lock it in. I don't remember I even locked it in. I heard him say it during training, but it didn't register to me until I got this. Until I got this. And so I'm researching the comps and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's going on. I looked this one up for $570,000. I ended up finding out it's public records that this was an owner finance property. Now, there's a thing called an arm's length transaction. I don't want to go that deep, but Google what an arm's length transaction is and then go from there, man. If you want to know more about that, let me know. But I found out that this one was not an arm's length transaction that's recognized with a traditional property. I mean, that's two totally different transactions. You can't really use that. So that was a whole nother thing, right? So it was something else. I was able to use it and remember it in the moment. It was crazy. Now, so because we couldn't agree on anything, I went upstairs to the second floor and I actually got to sit in front of the appraisal review board. Now, it starts with 3 people on the panel. You have another appraiser. He's sitting at a computer. He actually controls all the evidence, everything that's on the computer screen. But it's a small room, has a projector. You have the appraiser sitting behind a computer. He's going through everything. He's going through his evidence. And then you have the panel sitting in front of you. You get up, you stand up, you swear in. You make sure you, if you want to pass evidence out, that's the time you want to pass evidence out. That's what I did. And then from there, now you're just going back and forth. They're going to ask you who wants to go first. Well, you always want to let them go first. And to be honest, man, there's nothing else they're going to really say besides what they sent you in the mail. Because remember, nobody physically went out to your property unless you're just one of those people that they had to for some reason. But they're not going to, they rarely physically go out to view anything. So they're really going off the comps of what they have in the area. They're going to show you the map. They're going to show how close related it is to your home. They're going to state their spiel. That's it. It doesn't really go in more depth than that. And then from there, you can it's like cross-examining, or you could ask the appraiser a question if you like. I always ask them and say, hey, how did you get the comps? They'll tell you, oh, it's a mass appraisal. We didn't go physically out there, blah, blah, blah. You know, so you can come up with some unique questions. If you don't know any questions, man, use AI. Figure it out. Use AI. Ask, what question should I ask an appraiser when I'm going through this hearing? Boom, get 5 questions. Now remember, you only get 2 or 3 minutes. You gotta be quick. That's the one thing, man, that's frustrating. It is a quick process, man. It goes very quickly. And they're timing you. They're gonna make sure you're not getting no extra time. They're gonna time you. But from there, like I said, it goes back and forth for a while, and then boom, you're good. Now, my argument for my single family home that I use when I compare it and it showed my comparables versus their comparables was simply square footage. And I showed them all 2-story homes, all the homes that I found that sold from October to February. These are recent comps, all 2-story. Now, where we ran into an issue is what's called the class adjustment. This is something that everyone needs to kind of start to understand it. And I'm going to understand it better here within the next 30 days. I promise you that. My home is an R4 home. It's class. I didn't understand what that meant. I kind of thought that was zoning. I thought that's what that meant, or it was something else. But no, the Central Appraisal District is classifying homes by build quality or the overall structure. It's very hard to understand that piece. And again, I'm going to get more information on it. And then once I understand it a little bit better, I'm going to let you guys know. But truly, it's just literally over build. I think it's really over build quality, to be honest. So as you can see, I got R3s, R4s on here, just sprinkled through, but most of these were all R3s. It was weird because when I presented R3 properties, and I didn't even know they were R3 properties, they were like, we can't use that. Well, you guys are using them. You used 3 different comps to justify 4. 4 out of 6 are R3. Not even on the same level as what you're saying mine is. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't understand that part. But again, you know, we're going to prepare better going into next year. So, you know, I'm already planning for next year. But I think at the end of the day, it was fair. It was definitely fair. They heard me. I'm telling you, I used just straight comparables. Now, one thing I knew I needed to do was get estimates of any repairs that I needed to get done, or if I did anything. I did do some work, but I couldn't find the receipts, and I did get real estimates, but I couldn't find the estimates. You know, I don't know where I put it, but you know, I did remember I believe it was like 11 or 12,000 for some repairs I needed to get done. They took up to half of that into consideration when they were helping me reassess my property. If I had the actual estimates in front of them, they may have considered the full amount. So I would tell you that as well. So if you've done any work to your home, you have the receipts. If you've done any estimates and you got photos and you know, the full report, bring that as evidence. So you want that plus your CMA. All of that could be taken into consideration when you're talking about your overall assessment. So I knew that, but I just did a bad job keeping my paperwork together. Additionally, what did I want to tell you guys? Oh, so that was my single family home. So I was able to get that reduced down to 50,000, man, which was nice. So it went from 437,000, man, down to like 580, man. Oh my God. I was like, wow. Because the guy downstairs was like, he was not going to get me under 4. I'm like how, man? You know, but I was happy. I did a great job presenting my argument. Great job. I think overall I could have did some things better, but for the most part, starting to understand it. Definitely starting to understand it. Now, this was the difference between the second property I had to do. The second property was a duplex, and I don't live in it. You know, this was a property I used the VA home loan with. I stayed in one side with my family. We moved out. You know, we stayed in it for a year, well, longer than a year. But, you know, eventually we rented both sides out. Now, in the particular area that the duplex is in, it's in Central. And if you guys know Central's more of not a fixed income area, but, you know, it's affordable area, to be honest. And where I want to come with this is, you know, as someone who is a landlord, someone who has a problem, I'm not really making a lot from this. You know, I'm making enough to pay the mortgage, and I make a little bit of money in profit, but overall, I like to put a lot more money back into the property. So for example, you know, I maintain the weeds, I maintain the grass. If a tree needs to be cut down, if anything needs to be fixed, I'm pretty quick with it. You know, I truly want to manage and make sure that any tenant that lives with me, I'm taking care of them, truly taking care of them. And that's what I explained to him. I said, this one is tough. I know it's very tough because I have a brand new home. This is a brand new duplex in an older neighborhood. So there's no real true comparables, apples to apples, when you're talking about the age, right? But nonetheless, it's not going to change the fact that I can't just say I want $3,000 a month because I have a new duplex versus everyone else's duplex. I can ask for it, but it's still going to be difficult because what the market is in that particular subdivision. Rents are anywhere from $900 to like maybe $1,200 at the most. Maybe could be a little bit more, but for the most part, it's affordable, right? And that's what I want. I want to stay in that pocket regardless, because I can't. I don't need to bump it up that high. I really don't. I don't, to be honest. I mean, I could, I should, but it's okay, you know. So my argument overall was just, hey, if you continue to raise my property taxes up, or if I can't get this thing down, then I can't keep the rents affordable in that particular area. And right now, I know El Paso has a real big campaign going on about affordable housing. How do you keep it affordable? We have to bring the taxes down. You guys gotta give me some wiggle room. And again, I think they heard me. They dropped it down 14,000 on the assessment. And again, I left the appraisal review board satisfied, to be honest. I think it was fair. I didn't try to go, and this was the part I got into with the guy about downstairs, the appraiser downstairs. I don't know if he was being sarcastic or he just thought he just used to people saying a dramatic number. So they do ask you at some point, what do you believe your home is worth? The home that was for $437,000 market value, right? He said, well, what do you believe it's worth? 200. I said, no, man, like, why would you say that? No, I didn't say that. I said, but I think the ranges from just the comps you guys gave me for the 2-story, it should be somewhere around there. It shouldn't be where these 1-story homes priced at, including mine. Mine's were similar to this, right? So I'm like, I think I should be 350, 360. I got to 380. Like, you won't get no gripe and complaint from me. I mean, I think that was fair, to be honest. Because I mean, I guess if you still go by the build quality, if you're saying, okay, top of market, this is what it's going to be. Okay, well, but it was definitely better than 437. And then it's like I said, the same with the duplex. That one, I understood it was going to be tough regardless. I mean, I paid $315 for that home. They assessed it at, because I fought it last year. I think I was at 309. They wanted to put it at 309, 310. So it was a little bit under market, but we were able to bring it down just a little bit, which again, that helps. Every bit helps when you're talking about just not overpaying for property taxes, man. That's the biggest thing right now. So, I mean, at the end of the day, when you're going through this process, it's how you guys see it. Don't look at it as this is an overwhelming process or you need to pay somebody to do it. I promise you, this is something you can do yourself. You defend your property every day, especially when you see the letter and you're like, oh, my property's not worth this. We'll just explain that same process. Instead of yelling at your wife, your husband, whoever, just explain the process to the appraiser and tell them why you believe your home is worth X, Y, and Z. Now, the only thing you need to do to justify that is the evidence. Now, where do you get the evidence from? Again, you can get that from a licensed realtor. It's going to hold weight. Make sure that realtor understands that you just need a CMA. That CMA is going to justify what they believe your home is worth, and you can use that. If that's less than the assessment, cool. Now, I've done like 4 or 5 of these. And I'll be honest, some of them that I did, they were spot on. What the Central Appraisal District assessed the property at, I couldn't find comps lower. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't find them. But, I wasn't trying to make things out of the thin air. If I agreed with it, I agreed with it. I'm like, I don't think you're going to save any money with this. I even told another person at an open house, I asked them, hey, have you protested your property tax before? They said, no. They said, oh, our house is right there. And then we pulled up what their assessment was up online, and I'm like, oh, you guys are well below that. Yeah, I wouldn't even think about protesting these particular property taxes. Like, you guys are lucky. Just keep it as is. It can only go 10% up, 10% year over year. I think their assessment was at 171. The home has to be worth like at least 250, 260. So I'm like, nah, just leave that alone. You don't even want to mess with it. So protest is not always good for everybody, but for the most part, for the ones that do, you should go. Or you are considering it, just talk it out with a realtor. They'll give you an honest opinion about it. If you want to make sure you're spot on, man, get you an appraiser. You can pay for an appraiser to do one for you too, and use that. But again, you shouldn't have to pay for this again, so again, if you're going to protest the property tax, you have to Friday. If you need help with that, give me a call. My number is scrolling here on the bottom somewhere. I also got the QR code. You guys can stay connected. Let me know. If you have friends, family, abuelas, grandmas, grandpas, all them, Anybody needs help, please, please, please give me a call. You know, I do this for free. This is the thing I give back to the community. This is how I give back to the community. I want people to understand that realtors aren't just about sell, 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 buy, 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 buy. We also care about the community. And this is what I care about. You guys been knowing I've been doing this all year long. So this is not something that is a pitch or just a sales tactic for me or anything like that. It genuinely, it's in the name, keys and knowledge. Like I want to give you keys, but I also want to give you the knowledge as well, so you understand how to be the right homeowner. And you guys are seeing me become a homeowner in real time too. I'm telling you, when I go through this as well. So I want you guys to understand that this is not a gimmick for me. So I really truly value what I do, and I take it very, very seriously. And I really appreciate when I tell somebody or I speak to someone about the process and they're like, oh, that's it. That's all I have to do. It just sounded so overwhelming. I'm telling you, when I break it down to you, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I could have been did this. You know, so that's one thing I do appreciate. And that's where I get the most value from, to be honest, man. I really do. But when people hear me say this and offer my service for free, that, well, what do you get out of this? What do you get out of this? Well, I don't get anything. But what I do get is the opportunity, one, to educate you, two, to show my expertise, you know, and my knowledge as a realtor to you. And then three, that's even if you're not deciding to sell or buy, maybe you know somebody who is, and I've done so much that you may go ahead and just refer me to that person. I still got to earn the job, right? But one of those interview processes or way you're interviewing me to even refer me to your friend, your family member, whoever, is this CMA is going to show you I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the market. And that's overall what I get out of this. So, you know, but I don't get anything until anything closes either. So understand I do this for free at this point. But again, I enjoy doing it. And I think this is something that everyone needs to do. And again, even if you don't use me, you can use whoever. I don't know if it's going to be a free service, but you can ask them, you know, for sure, ask them. Or her, you can definitely do that. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please, please, please don't hesitate to give me a call, send me a DM. If you have any questions or comments on what I've said so far, put it in the comment section. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to go on it. I know I was rambling for a little bit at the very beginning of it. It gets me, this is going to be a long, I already knew it was going to be a long live. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to take my time going through this. But, man, yeah. And then remember, at the end of the day, man, who the Central Appraisal District works for. I want to tell you guys that as well. They don't work for you and me. Again, that's why I told that guy, man, you're not my friend, man. Don't talk to me as if we're cool. We're not. I mean, there's a rapport there. It's a respect thing there, but also understand that I came in here with my game face on. Don't make me break it because you're just trying to get my guard down. I'm still on defensive mode because we got to go back and forth. But once we go through, we got to go through. Oh, yeah, it's nice to meet you. All right, it was good. Good talking to you. Boom, it's over with. But remember, who does the Central Appraisal District work for? They work for those entities that are on your property taxes. So the county, the city, the school districts. Yeah, man, they work for those entities. The EPCC, that's who pays these people. Not you and I. They're not collecting anything, right? Their job is to evaluate properties. That is their job, to evaluate what your property value is. They don't set the tax rate. So a lot of people get upset with these people, and you can't get upset with them. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not collecting anything. They don't get paid by you and I. So, you know, once you understand that, then you kind of understand the whole system. But more of the story is protest every year. And if you don't need a protest, it's okay. But talk to someone else and see if they've done it. You know, I think there's a lack of education piece on this. And everyone should understand this, man. They should understand this, or at least have an idea about this. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate everything. Thanks so much for coming on. Again, my number is right here at the bottom, 915-487-6602. You can find me online. I also have my website, MikeClark, ElPasoRealtor.com. On there, you can connect to all my social media platforms. And again, if you want to connect anyway, anyhow, however you want to do it, hey, let's get to work. If you're looking to buy, sell, invest, or just want knowledge overall of what's going on in the city, again, I pride myself on trying to stay up to date on different projects that are happening throughout El Paso, city leaders and what they're doing. I'm not giving you a bias, but I'm going to give you more or less, how I feel about each city rep or county commissioner, mayor, or county judge. Like I'm gonna give you, for the most part, I know most of them, and kind of how they move. I don't know them personally, but I've been to enough meetings that I kind of get where they're coming from, or at least what they're doing. Like I don't know everybody, but anyway, I love to talk that. I love that all day, every day. And if you got feedback for me, please, I love to hear it. But that's all I got for you guys, man. Until next time, we out of here. Peace.